Welcome to today's interview here on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams coming to you from the Central Texas Brighteon studios. And as you see today, we've got a special guest here, and we also have a NASA astronaut. And we have a backdrop of the lunar surface here, right? See all this? That's because our guest today is the Bart Sibrel from Sibrel.com. Welcome, Bart. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see you.
Hey, it's great to see you in person.
Yes.
This is the first time we've ever met face-to-face.
That's right.
Well, it's a pleasure because I've really enjoyed the interviews that we've done together, a few of them over the last few years. And in case the audience doesn't know, you're the analyst, the researcher, the author who has now convincingly exposed how the Apollo missions were faked. So, boom, like mic drop right there. Give our audience a little bit of a background of who you are and what you do.
Well, I grew up believing that the moon missions were real, like everybody else, and maybe more so. I kind of worshiped them. My father was in the Air Force. I was 4 years old, asleep in bed at the time, but he got this VIP package of Apollo 11 prints, and that was my cherished present.
Really?
So we moved around about every 2 years, and they were like right there, center in my bedroom wall. So if I saw them once a day, you know, over the next 10 years, but I probably saw them 3 times a day. So we're talking about seeing these pictures 10 to 12,000 times from the age of 4 to 14. Then I see a gentleman who worked for NASA with second highest security clearance to von Braun, who worked with von Braun, editing memos because his native language was German, between him and the Pentagon. And he says that he edited a memo of von Braun warning the Pentagon that the odds of going to the moon on the first attempt were 1 in 10,000 chance. That they bluffed, like having crap in poker, and they faked the moon landing. Well, I'm an open-minded 14-year-old, so I'm like, oh, never thought about that. You know, even though I idolized it, or mesmerized, moreover, I said, well, let me go back and take a look at the pictures. And like eyes wide shut, I noticed that, at least in the original pictures, they've color-corrected them. The real soil color of the moon is a caramel brown. And you'll notice the Chinese probe pictures, it's caramel brown. But the backdrops were this grayish blue. So you can kind of see where the real soil ends and the fake backdrop begins. They've color-corrected them now, and now the soil is grayish blue. But it wasn't in the original prints, if you can find them in a library book or on eBay. And that kind of planted a seed in my mind. And then when I'm 24, 10 years later, I'd become a filmmaker whose job is to make fake scenes look real. And I could, by that point, tell you what kind of electrical lighting they use because I had the same kind in my closet. And I was editing one day for the guy who produced that show I'd seen 10 years earlier. And I'm like, who was that guy on your show who said we didn't go to the moon? He's like, I don't remember. Call the San Francisco office. Well, he puts me in touch with him, Bill Casey. And I connect with him, and he says, Bart, you're a filmmaker. Make a film about this. And I said, well, let me think about it. I see shadows, and we can, you know, show this, or you can insert it. I can send you an email with the picture, but shadows intersecting. We talked about this before.
Yeah,
at 90 degrees.
The light source is really, really close.
Yeah. And sunlight, they're always parallel.
Absolutely.
Just go out, two trees, 2 people in a parking lot or yard, and they intersect at 90 degrees from objects 5 feet apart, which is a really close electrical light.
It was shot in a studio. Clearly.
And then I find out 2 of the 3 astronauts don't give interviews. The administrator resigned without explanation before the first mission. The Soviets launched the first satellite, the first animal, the first man, the first spacewalk, the first 2 spacecrafts. They were so much more advanced. For every 10 hours we spent in space, they spent 50 hours, and they never went to the moon. We somehow leapfrogged. You know, NASA has never kept a schedule, not once in their entire history, except the most complicated mission of all time. They were ahead of schedule.
Right. But hold on. Let me back up because you've already said so much. I want to insert some questions here. So all the footage that you're talking about and the photos that you admired as a child, that was all very convincing back in the early 1970s, let's say, right? But by today's standards, if you go back and look at that, it looks kind of like a Saturday Night Live skit. It reminds me like CNN. Remember in, I think it was 1991 or 92, they had a journalist named Charles Jaco. Charles Jaco was pretending to be, I think, in Saudi Arabia.
Iraq.
Oh, Iraq. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it was a set. It was obviously a studio set, and they had like one palm tree there.
And a green screen.
And they played sirens, and he faked like there was an air raid. and the war correspondent with him, they said, "Oh my God, it might be gas," and he grabs a helmet. Well, one of them grabs a gas mask, the other one grabs a helmet, and I'm thinking this is like Laurel and Hardy, or this is like Abbott and Costello. This is a stupid skit. It sort of passed muster in 1991. Not today.
Well, I think what happened, there was a glitch in the green screen, chroma key stopped, and you saw a green screen with wrinkles in it.
Oh,
and
I
that's
didn't
what
see
happened.
that clip.
I remember watching a Mary Tyler Moore episode because Ed Asner was going to star in a film of mine until he died from, injection.
Yeah.
Right? And they were talking about there was a snowstorm, and they wanted to film it for a news story, but they couldn't send out the crew because of the snowstorm. So the guy says, well, we'll just use the snowstorm footage from last year. And he's like, don't even think about it. We would lose our license. So CNN, I call it CIAN, they got caught faking being in Iraq at no penalty whatsoever.
Sure.
And so I start looking into the moon landing fraud and the shadows intersect and the weird behavior of the astronauts and the Soviets more advanced. And I have a guy who worked there who said it was fake. And I'm like, I have this kind of relentless, never give up personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I have to turn over 1 million rocks to find one clue, I will do it. And I love puzzles. I even drew mazes as a child. And I'm like, if anybody could figure out whether they went to the moon or not, it would be me. And then I think, well, if they really didn't go, and I start looking into it, that could be deadly. And I was like, I want to have a wife and family someday. I'm not going to risk my life for what Nixon did all those years ago. So I turned down the project. Then another client is this famous Christian musician who says they'll get one of my screenplays to a famous producer if I do them a favor. I'm like, well, what favor? They said, read the Bible. They got me a 1-year Bible. I started June 3rd, 1989, the day the man stood in front of the tanks in China. And over the next 5 years, I read the Bible 5 times from cover to cover. Wasn't a Christian by any means, but it created in me this belief things don't make themselves. You can't have a flower and a bee evolving in total dependence of one another, right? Some higher being had to make them both. And then a judgment for this life just seems logical. And then I realized if they faked the moon mission, which they did, that's more profound than if they'd actually gone. Do you realize that? They either went, planted a flag, came back, or the most honorable, noble country in the world deceived their own people, embezzled $200 billion, and murdered people to cover it up, which we can talk about later. I changed my mind. I said, this is worth dying for. This is wrong. And mankind cannot progress unless we admit that we did this. And it's spiritually the most significant event in human history. It's the Tower of Babel. It's the modern day Tower of Babel.
Let me interject here because you've hit a really important point. Today in 2024, here we are, after the faked pandemic that has awakened a lot of people to the fakery of the United States empire, which also has a fake currency backed by nothing. We also have fake elections. Everybody knows that at this point. We have a faked news media that they just take CIA memos and they just read them. Teleprompters. It's all faked. And with new AI tech, by the way, even all the faces you see on the news are all going to be faked anyway. They won't even be human anymore. Today, it seems like more people are open to the message that you are saying in the post-COVID era than pre-COVID, because public faith in the institutions of government and medicine and, quote, science, which has turned out to be a clown show joke, the public faith has been shattered. Even for me. When I first interviewed you, Bart, I was very, very skeptical of what you were saying. And I mean, you probably picked that up in some of my questions. At that time, I believed that the Apollo missions were real, that they put men on the moon. Today, I no longer believe that. But to get to your point, I don't mean to lecture here, but to get to your point, the U.S. empire dominates the world through fakery and bluffery. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and more so. What I have just, people can go to Sibrel.com. On the homepage is my film, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It cost nearly $1 million, financed by an anonymous person who builds rockets for NASA, who wishes to remain anonymous so his stock doesn't go down, who knows they faked it, he thought it was wrong, gave me $1 million to expose it. We uncovered this footage of them faking part of the moon mission right in front of your eyes. And when you see
Is that
the window
the small,
shot.
the halfway to the moon thing?
The fake Earth with the
Right.
1 foot model.
It's totally fake.
So it's a 7-year film. I spent 4,000 hours editing a 45-minute film.
Wow.
And halfway into it, 3.5 years into 7 years, I pop in this tape. It says, don't show to the public. I'm like, oh, this should be good. I fast forward it. It's the same shot for an hour. It's special effect. They're faking being halfway to the moon right in front of your eyes, dated 2 days into the flight with the third track of audio of the CIA telling them to fake a 4-second radio delay because they never left Earth orbit.
Right.
And it dawns on me, I just start weeping quietly. I'm like, oh my gosh, they really did fake the moon landing. How sad is that for humanity?
Yes.
More than the United States. This is the fall of man. You understand?
Yeah.
Tower of Babel never finished. The largest machine ever built, the Titanic, they put in a poster, the ship that God himself could not sink, never made a voyage. And then Nixon, who didn't even have the guts to show up for the launch because he knew it was phony. What if they have a picture of him shaking hands with Neil Armstrong and the truth comes out? Doesn't even show up. German president there, Japan president there, but not the president of the United States. He said, putting a man on the moon when he knew it was a lie is the greatest event since God made the universe. You see,
Wow.
the greatest accomplishment of mankind is putting a man on the moon. And how ironic that it's a lie. Now, there's a famous female writer, Ellen White. She said about the Tower of Babel, the monument to their pride became a memorial to their folly. And imagine
exactly.
what will happen if the truth comes out that they faked the moon landing. The
And
dollar could
this-
crash, stock market could crash.
Right.
But we have to cut off the gangrene limb and admit it, or we're all going to die.
Well, so much of what the U.S. empire is based on is fake. It's fraudulent. But I want to be clear for our audience, what you're saying is real versus fake. And so they did launch rockets.
Yeah,
They launched them into orbit.
right.
They orbit the Earth. And you're not an advocate of the flat Earth
Not at
theory,
all.
not at all.
That's to discredit people who know the moon landing is fake.
Exactly. I feel the same way. So the Earth is a sphere. The moon is a sphere. The moon's orbiting the Earth. And the Earth and the moon as a system are orbiting the sun, and so on and so forth, right? And we're in one of the spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay. You're not questioning all of astronomy. What you're saying is,
I'm questioning the integrity of the United States federal government.
which needs to be questioned.
Of course.
So what you're saying is they put astronauts into orbit. They faked like they went to the moon. So they stayed in orbit for a few days, which must have been hell, by the way,
Yeah.
in that tiny capsule. And then they came back. They did the reentry, survived that, got picked up by the Navy, and then suddenly they were heroes, and history was made. That's what you're. All that happened, but they just never left Earth orbit and went to the moon and back.
Right. If I could, there's basically 4 incontrovertible proofs that they didn't go to the moon that I talk about in the book.
Okay.
At Sibrel.com. I read it myself in audio or Kindle or print. It has 17 interactive video links that you can see for free at Sibrel.com.
Right.
I back up everything that I'm saying. The first proof is logic. Okay. Today, with 54 years better rockets and 54-year better computer, the farthest that NASA can send an astronaut into outer space is 1,000th the distance to the moon. So what they're really claiming is, in 1969, ahead of schedule, when all of NASA had 1/1,000,000th the computing power of a cell phone, they sent astronauts on the first attempt 1,000 times farther than they can send them today with 5 decades better technology. So what they're really saying is that for the first time in recorded history, technology is better in the past and in the future. But that isn't a scientific and historic impossibility.
Well, yes, and also I would ask, why haven't the Chinese sent a man to the moon, or the Russians? Because
it can't be done.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
You would think if it could be done,
It would be done.
Russia would have already landed people on the moon.
Right. When they blew up the first atomic bomb in 1945, just 10 years later, atomic bombs were 1,000 times more powerful. So if they could go to the moon on the first attempt and drive cars and play golf, we would have been on, exactly. We would have been on Mars 10 years later. We'd be in another solar system by now, and there would be bases all over the moon. The South Pole has 100 degrees below zero, 100-mile-per-hour winds, but there are bases there. You know why? Because it's humanly possible, maybe barely. So if it were humanly possible to go to the moon in 1969, there would be bases, hotels, who knows what, all over the moon. So that's the first proof. You can't have greater technology in the past and in the future.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Hold on, just hold that thought. I want to ask you, I apologize for interrupting, but you've met many of the astronauts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, face to face. You tried to question many of them, right?
Right.
But have you met them all the Apollo astronauts?
I've met 8 of them.
8 of them. Okay. I have an astronaut you've not met. And he's here in the studio.
Okay.
Today. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So hold on.
Okay. I hope he doesn't punch me.
Come on. Have you met Commander Rhodey?
I like how he growls. He's not so much a willing participant. He seems reluctant a little bit. Hello.
Yeah, Rhodey. How you doing? Yeah, such a good boy. How you doing? Commander Rhodey. He did not make it to the moon.
Yeah, he's upset.
And he's very unhappy about NASA, actually.
Well, he doesn't like to lie. He's got integrity. It's bothering him.
Exactly. No. Get it, Rhodey. Get it.
Oh, my goodness.
Get the astronaut. Okay, get out.
He's been wanting that all day long. He's been very patient.
Show a camera. Yeah, there we go.
Give them what they deserve.
Get the astronaut, Rhodey.
Bless their hearts.
Commander Rhodey. Oh, he's ripping the helmet off. Look at that. I apologize for
that's okay. You lost something there. Hope it wasn't valuable.
It's
not anymore.
It's probably been destroyed. So, he's ripping that astronaut to pieces. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like the way you ripped the narrative to pieces, actually, come to think of it. I mean, you did. You just blew up all the claims.
Well, the interesting thing about this, and if I may say why it took me a long time. I mean, I had someone who worked there who told me it was fake. I had shadows intersecting. I had all these bizarre clues. I said, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Then I see pop in the tape, and they're faking being halfway to the moon right in front of your eyes. Third track of audio from the CIA telling them how to do it. I guess they didn't go. And so the difference is, it's like, Kennedy's dead. That's a tragedy. It's just a matter of changing who did it and why.
Yeah.
Or 9/11. All those people are dead. You can change who did it and why. This is different. This is a positive lie. People don't want to give it up. I was interviewed by somebody, maybe I shouldn't mention his name, pretty well-known, sincere radio personality, anti-corruption, but he has me on for 10 minutes on audio only, ridicules me, has an astronaut on following me on camera for 10 minutes, kissing his butt for an hour.
Wow.
Because in his mind, I know America has gotten bad, but at least we went to the moon.
Right, because it's part of the fantasy.
And so this is a positive lie.
Right.
It involves
makes people
pride.
feel good about their country.
That's right. I even talked to a college professor. He teaches aerospace at one of the most prestigious universities in America. I showed him all this proof. Says, Bart, there's nothing you could show me that I will recant the glorious moon landings. I said, what about this? What if you saw Buzz Aldrin on national TV just tearfully confessing we didn't go to the moon? Bart is right. It was filmed at Cannon Air Force Base, which we can talk about. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. The guy said, the professor, he still think he walked on the moon anyway.
Wow.
No kidding.
Because they want to believe this myth so strongly because this has become part of the cultural memory of really American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
Which is what's also driving a lot of the war right now around the world.
Well, and you have people who, seem to be anti-corruption who are defending murderers because first clue, right? We can't have greater technology in the past and in the future. Never happened.
Right.
There's never been a technical milestone like breaking the sound barrier, splitting the atom that no one could repeat 50 years later. Never happened.
Right.
Unless the moon landings are real, which is not true. And then we have the footage I showed you of them faking being halfway to the moon, the shadows intersecting, that proves it. And then in my book, for the very first time, we have an eyewitness, okay? There's a man who worked in Clovis, New Mexico, across from Cannon Air Force Base, or he lived across the street from it. He was the chief of security at Cannon Air Force Base. Now, Bill Casing, I had to pull out my own archives. I'm like, didn't he mention the Air Force? He said the whole, faking of the moon landing was supervised by the CIA and the United States Air Force. And so this guy, every branch in the military has like a special ops. The Marines have it, the Army have it, the Air Force have it. Their special ops headquarters is at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico. As the guy is dying, who was chief of security there in 1968, he's fearing the judgment of God. And as best as we can tell, if you confess your sin and renounce them, you'll be forgiven. So he says, as he's dying, I'm a murderer. I killed somebody at work. Lord, please forgive me. His son is like, you killed a coworker at work? He brings in the military police. They investigate it. And they ask him, who did you kill? He says such and such, so they can notify, the relatives. He's not missing. He was killed. And they say, well, why did you kill him? He said, because he was going to squeal about the moon landing fraud, which was filmed at our base June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1968. He stood beside President Johnson, who gave him a list of 15 VIPs who were allowed in. Neil Armstrong is on the list. Buzz Aldrin is on the list. They weren't even in the spacesuits for the TV transmission. They had doubles. They just observed.
Wow.
He kept that list as a souvenir, and I published it in the book.
Quick edit point here. Can you get Rhodey some water, please? Oh, you already did. Okay. He's like walking around. I thought he was looking for something.
Yeah, that astronaut gets caught right here.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he got like astronaut
might get some
mouth.
Pepto-Bismol, because I understand when you eat an astronaut, it causes an upset stomach.
It's which causes. That's why it's called astronaut. You end up with knots in your ass.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's a good one.
I have to deal with the animals here.
Yes.
And I'm just talking about the crew behind the board.
Yeah, I thought you might
plus
say that.
my dog.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind me joking. I love use humor.
Life should be humorous. God created humor. And I had a doctor. I said, well, what are the number one ways to not die, to live long? He said, number one, don't smoke. Number two, have a sense of humor.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
well, we're nailing both of those.
Amen. Yeah.
All right. So backing up then, you said there were 5 points. Number one was logic. Or did you say 5 or 4?
Well, 4 main points, supplemental things too. So number one, they can't have greater technology in the past and in the future.
Right.
Today, they can only send astronauts 1,000th the distance to the moon because of radiation and limited fuel. That's why there's mannequins orbiting the moon, because of the lethal radiation. One of the clips at Sibrel.com is Kelly Smith saying, you can insert it, I just uploaded it to my YouTube channel, that the technology for astronauts to survive the radiation to the moon and back has not been invented yet.
My name is Kelly Smith, and I work on navigation and guidance for Orion. We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We won't have astronauts inside. We won't have astronauts inside. We won't have astronauts inside.
Okay, so this is the key point as far as I'm concerned. You're saying past a certain distance, there's a radiation zone.
It starts at about 1,000 miles up, and it's 30,000 miles thick. It's about an hour and a half in it to the moon and an hour and a half back. It would be 100 times a lethal dose. 100
times a lethal dose
according
of radiation.
to the Scientific American magazine publication of 1959, which we link in my book, that says so. It's 100 times more than a lethal dose.
So you would have to have like lead shielding or something in order to get through that?
It would be extremely heavy.
Yeah, very heavy.
Yeah.
Obviously. So, and the actual lunar lander was made out of like aluminum foil.
Yeah, and they had their protection was 1/8 of an inch of aluminum, and when you get a dental X-ray, you get a 1/4 inch of lead for 1/24 of a second. So they had 1/8 of an inch of aluminum for 3 hours through the radiation.
So if they had gone through that, they would come back.
They would have died.
Would they have died in the capsule or died of cancer afterwards?
I would say within a few days.
Ionizing radiation?
5 days. Yeah.
They would look like a chemo patient when they got off?
It would be terrible. Plus, they didn't have enough fuel. For example, with this greater technology means going to the moon should be easier, right?
Yes.
And more efficient.
Right.
Elon Musk says to go to the moon, you first have to make 8 fuel trips to the Lagrange point or to a space station, and then from there, you have enough fuel to go to the moon. We have publications from von Braun that says the idea of going to the moon in one rocket is preposterous. He put it in writing. He said it would take 3 rockets, each taller than the Empire State Building, each weighing 10 times the amount of the Queen Mary, or 800,000 tons, times 3. The Saturn V weighed 2,500 tons, a difference of 30,000%.
Okay, well, let me ask you a physics question on that, because that's... I'm going to push back on that a little bit, but you tell me. You've studied this more than I have. Seems like once you make it to orbit, you've already expended most of your fuel to get to orbit, Earth orbit, right? And at that point, you've got orbital velocity, otherwise your orbit would decay, right? And if you launch at the equator, you've got some spin kicking in to help you achieve that anyway. Seems like it wouldn't take much more fuel to put you on a trajectory to the moon that gets you there eventually.
Well, you have to use a lot of fuel to land and not crash.
Well,
and then you have to use a lot of fuel to get off the moon into lunar orbit, and then more fuel again to go from lunar orbit to Earth orbit.
That makes sense.
So that's why
Elon Musk adjust your orbit back.
Elon Musk says it takes 9 fuel trips in order to go to the moon. And then get this, Elon Musk's 50 years later, to land a rocket vertically, like they claim they did on the moon 6 times.
Yeah, true, yeah. He
had 600 million times the computing power as the lunar module, okay?
And even then, it didn't work all the time.
And for Elon Musk to land a rocket vertically the first time with 600 million times better computers to gimbal the thing so it wouldn't fall over.
Right.
The first time it blew up.
Yep.
Second time it blew up. Third time it blew up. Fourth time it blew up. With 600 million times the computing power.
I remember him saying this is a success.
When it blows up.
When it blows up, yeah. Because they're like, we got data.
Somehow.
Yeah.
The Titanic sank, but it left the dock. It's a success. Like the rocket blows up because it left the tower. It's a success? What is wrong with the world?
Well, so we have an astronaut just got eaten.
If it takes him 5 attempts to land a rocket vertically with 5 decades better technology, 600 million times more computing power, how did they land vertically on the moon in 1969? Every time they tried.
Yeah, with joysticks.
With 1/600 millionth the computing power.
Well, yeah.
You see?
Okay.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's less gravity there to deal with, so it's not as catastrophic, you could say, if you mess it up.
I don't know whether that would help you or hurt you. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, continuing on your list of reasons why this did not happen. Again, I think the radiation zone is the most compelling.
Well, yeah, like I said, one of the links at Sibrel.com, the book is interactive. Like I write a chapter, then go to Sibrel.com, watch link 1, read a chapter, link 2. Kelly Smith says that the technology to go through the radiation belt with people has not been invented yet.
Right, but this would also explain why they can send like lunar landers.
That's right.
Or orbital craft.
You want to hear the latest proof? Yeah. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Okay, this is big. This is big. They're suppressing it. You may not have heard about it. So, there are conventions for every business. My business was the NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, the latest cameras. Then there's shoe conventions, race car conventions. You can drive a car around the track, but just during the convention that gets 150 miles to the gallon that somehow never makes the market. Well, they have an AI convention in November. They have these in New York and Paris. This one's in Moscow. Putin is there. Google brings in their neural network, multiple AIs tied together to make a super AI. One team who can play with it for 3 days has it write a symphony. Another team has it write a novel. Another team uses its deep fake detector program. It has never been wrong. You can send it a video of Putin or Biden or Trump. It'll tell you in 1 second whether it's a deep fake or not. It's never been wrong. They feed it pictures of the probes of the lunar surface from China, which are real because the surface is brown and the rocks aren't just sitting there. They're poking out of many years of soil, dropping from micrometeorites. It says they're real. The AI, the smartest AI in the world, says they're real. Then, in comparison, they feed them pictures from the Apollo missions. Ding, 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 ding. Fake background, fake foreground. One, it said, is a fake astronaut of this huge landscape. They said it's a miniature. That's a doll. The AI knew that the little stamp that apparently they had a boot print and they stamped footprints. They said a human doesn't walk that way. I figured that out too. It was like 5 things why the picture is fake. So we just have the news that the smartest AI in the world said that the moon landings from America are fake. Now, either Google's $2 billion investment, 10 years of development, created a piece of junk, or the moon landings were fake. Which do you think it is? And then get this, when we try to find the original link, which had to be translated into Russian, we put it into Google Translate. It'll translate a script from Gilligan's Island, to Russian into English. You put in this article that talks about their AI Google's AI proving the moon landings are fake. It won't translate it. Then I find the original article, and it says if you click on to proceed, all your data on your computer will be stolen, and you'll be associated with child pornography.
What, that was like a browser warning?
That's right. I have a screenshot of it at Sibrel.com. There's an article on the homepage.
Well, no, I've known Google to do that, to try to block anything they don't want you to use or see.
Well, it was a Google machine, their AI, their super AI, their neural network AI that just said the moon landings were fake. And
right, so then Google's trying to scrub that from
That's right.
internet.
And so Putin was there. I have a video on my homepage, and Putin's there. Doesn't look surprised at all.
Right.
Looks afraid. Like if the truth comes out about that, they're going to release information about him. You see, one of the excuses why it must be real, the moon missions, is because Russia and China would have squealed. That's not true. I know someone who works in the command center of the Chinese Space Agency. He says everybody there knows the moon missions were fake. They're blackmailing NASA for space technology, which is a violation of the Espionage Act. In exchange for not blowing the whistle. You see that?
Now, I'm glad you brought in China and Russia in this, because even in the context of war technology, right now, Russia has by far the most advanced hypersonic missiles, for example, the most advanced re-entry vehicles, hyperglide vehicles that ride in the nose cone of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Russia's got the most advanced anti-air defense systems, the most advanced electromagnetic warfare, and so on.
And the most advanced vodka.
That may be true. But if Russia is so far ahead of the U.S., and I've had other experts say Russia's about 20 years ahead of the U.S. in terms of all this technology, that technology, it blends into space technology, right? Rocketry, obviously, orbital re-entry, hyperglide vehicles, all this stuff. So given that Russia's 2 decades ahead of America in essentially rocketry and space weaponry and nuclear weapons, then it brings up the question again, how come Russia hasn't gone to the moon?
Yeah, they say in order for them to potentially put a man on the moon, it's going to take 15 years of development. 15 years. 15 years with 50 years better technology. When they did it in 8 years, when Kennedy set the goal, you see?
Yeah. Right.
So how can it take 8 years with 1960s technology, but with 21st century technology, it's going to take twice as much time?
Do you think that Kennedy knew at the beginning that they were going to fake it? Or did he think they could do it, and then maybe 2 years into it, the scientists were like, President, we can't really do this thing. We're going to either cancel it or we're going to have to do something else?
I don't think I talked about this in a previous interview, but when I found that secret footage, I was followed by the CIA, kidnapped by the CIA, drugged with truth serum.
What?
And escaped their custody. I know, it's in my book. I never talked about it during any interviews until the book came out, because I was already trying to get people to convince them of this difficult thing to swallow. They really did fake the moon landing. And so I talk about this, in the book, but my point is, is that, remind me your question, because I had some long point I was trying to remember.
Kennedy know at the beginning that they were going to
so
take it?
One of the things that happened is, and I'll finish that story, is I got a document from someone who worked in the Kennedy administration. And it showed that they were considering faking the moon landing back during the Kennedy administration. Well, I thought they did that during the Johnson administration. And then around the time I got that document, I was followed again. People were trying to get my password. You know, AT&T employees looking over my shoulder, use my laptop. You can't use your computer to enter your computer password. You have to use my laptop. I closed the door. They'd be peeking through the door to get that document off of my computer. And in the book, I go into how when I found that footage, I was followed from church. I pulled over, let the person following me get in front of me. I followed them. They get on the highway. I get on the highway. I pull up alongside of them to look at them. Who is this person? They look like a great white shark that would eat me alive and go home and have a great dinner and not think about me tomorrow. And as soon as we connected eyes, my car completely died. They zapped it. Electrical engine, I'm coasting. I'm tracked down by 2 other people. So I have like 3 different cars chasing after me on foot in the middle of the night on the highway. I hire a cab to take me to CNN to meet a person I know through the back door, back alley. I'm surrounded by government agents who I hear behind me say, "Where's the thing?" "I thought you had the thing." "No, here's the thing." Well, they're all wearing rubber gloves. The thing is this little hospital type band they put on right by my wrist, right? Within a minute from the absorption, I'm like so drugged, I'm vomiting. Oh. They put me in a van, completely black. They first they talk in gibberish, blah, 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 to confuse me. Then they put me in bright light and they ask me all these questions. Where's the master of the tape, this, that, and the other? I tell them everything they want to know. You don't have to waterboard anybody, bribe them, or give them this drug.
Wait a minute. So they were trying to get the videotapes?
The original, find out where the copies are, things like that. So I immediately, of course, made copies. I'm a video producer. I have, immediately made multiple copies of this and put it in safe houses. But the point is, I escaped their custody. Okay?
How did you escape their custody?
It's a long story. We don't have time for it.
Did you do a Jason Bourne maneuver?
Well, there were good guys in the government who were helping me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were like 2 factions. It should be a movie someday. Yeah. In any case, I make my way.
You need Commander Rhodey with you.
So it's a chapter in my book called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to CNN. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Church." And anyway, so I make my way back into Nashville, and I pee in a cup. I say, "I got him. I'm going to show this to the news director at NBC News where I work, right?" Yeah, because I got this exotic drug in me.
Yeah.
So I pee in a cup, and I'm trying to outwit the CIA here, right? So I give it to a friend to put in a lab in his name. And I want the results, and maybe they won't be able to train. So we meet days later, and I'm like, "What are the results?" He says, "Well, there was a problem at the lab." And I'm like, "Yeah, what problem?" He says, "Well, they had a break-in over the weekend." I'm like, "Yeah, well, so what?" He says, "Well, funny thing, the only thing stolen was your urine sample." And
You're kidding me.
No, true story. And it's all in the book for the very first time. People don't understand. So you probably know this. Ralph Nader was trying to get GM to put airbags in cars, which would save 10,000 lives a year. They didn't want to spend the $200 per car. So they sicked FBI agents. What is his name? Roche, the CEO of GM, admitted this in front of Congress. He sicked FBI agents on the guy to discredit him and trap him with drugs or prostitutes, just to not put airbags in cars. Imagine the pressure they put on me when I have a videotape of them faking part of the moon mission.
Right. But it's all out now. I mean, you were just on Joe Rogan. You've been on InfoWars with Harrison Smith. You're here on Brighteon today, and you've done a lot of other shows as well. Do you feel like that this is a breakthrough moment for this message, or?
The executive producer, the millionaire rocket builder who gave me the money, he thought once people saw the window shot, the fake footage, that the truth would just come out immediately. 2 NBC news directors agreed that footage proves beyond a doubt that they faked the moon mission.
Yeah, I've seen that footage. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But apparently it's trickling out slowly. They have a film coming out in July. And as best as I can tell, they're saying that we faked some of the footage as a backup, but the moon missions are real.
Wait, who's they? Who's coming out with a film?
Some film by Amazon, I think. Amazon is coming out with the movie. $100 million movie called Fly Me to the Moon out in July.
Really?
About, at least partially, they faked the moon landing.
Really?
But
Why would
only,
they?
only as a backup.
Only as a backup.
The thing is, if you really went, you would never fake any of it.
No, of
that would
course not.
discredit you.
But
if you
even
got
saying
caught.
they need to fake elements of it as a backup is an admission that they're faking it.
Yeah, I mean, if any part of it is fake, then all of it is fake. And the thing is, the part that we have is them faking being halfway to the moon from Earth orbit, dated 2 days into the flight.
Wait, let's play that footage here.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Okay, so that's supposed to be the Earth floating in space. Now let's take a look at it over here, right? And let's take a look at it. Okay, so to the right is 130,000 miles out, according to NASA and Neil Armstrong, right? That's the Earth over there on the right. But wait a minute, it's not. It's the window. They're using a 1 foot diameter circular photograph of the Earth, putting it on top of the circular window. And now here they are breaking down the shot, the photograph, in order to get ready for an interior showing the astronauts. You know what I mean? So there they are. There's proof right there that it's a fake shot. Here's even an outtake here when an astronaut's arm gets in front of the window. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So if that's really the Earth floating in space, that must be the arm of God going right in front of it. Oh my goodness. So this is the smoking gun. This is them faking being halfway to the moon. Okay? There they are getting ready, and there they open the iris. And there's Michael Collins, and there's the very bright Earth out the window. Okay. Then there's another segment. It'll be in the email if you have time to play it, of the CIA prompting them. So they're in Earth orbit. They're really close to the Earth. So it would say, "How are you? I'm doing fine. How's your day? It's not too bad." But if they respond quickly like that, it gives away the fact that they're close to the Earth when they're supposed to be halfway to the moon. The tape I uncovered is timestamped by NASA 2 days into the flight. They're supposed to be walking on the moon the next day. They're still in Earth orbit. The bright Earth is out the window because we have the unedited version. At the very beginning of it, you hear NASA say, "Hey, the TV picture looks great." Then there's 4 seconds of dead air. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you hear a third party, not NASA, not the astronauts, which has that walkie-talkie sound. Crystal clear, it says, "Talk." Then Neil Armstrong speaks. They're creating a fake 4-second radio delay. You can play that as well.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're zooming in on Earth.
Yeah, now I have some other clips we could talk about, or we could play those as well. There's one of the Apollo astronaut. When I confronted him with the footage, he literally kicks me from behind. He's so upset that I have this footage of them faking part of the moon mission, turns beet red, kicks me from behind. In the commotion, we leave a high-quality wireless microphone on him. And in the commotion, my camera operator forgets to hit stop record. So while the camera is in the back seat of the rental car, we're recording the private conversations of the astronaut and his son in his house with the door closed.
A hot mic.
That's right. And they say, about me, do you want to call the CIA and have them whacked?
You have that. I haven't seen that video.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
we can play that one now?
Sure.
All right, let's play that one.
You want to call the CIA? Have them whacked?
Then if we're going to show one other clip, I have the time code on it. It's of the sun. This is the one you remember you called me up right after I uploaded this to YouTube. The funny thing is I've been so close to this for so long, I upload this video as a little bit extra proof that they faked the moon landing, thinking it's no big deal. Everyone's freaking out. The views are doubling every hour.
A lot of us had never seen any of this stuff before.
Yeah, and I thought, well, it's just one more, piece of evidence on the pile, but everyone's like, is that real? You called me up saying, is this real, Bart? Is this real?
And I said, yeah, it's real. Confession?
Yeah, this is the son testifying that he eyewitnessed his father's confession about working at Cannon Air Force Base, that he lived right across from the base, and his father describing how they brought in concrete powder, made a fake lunar set, and that they faked the moon landing at Cannon Air Force Base June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1968.
I've never known my dad to lie. to get caught lying was worse than whatever it was you did to begin with. I remember going to school with long sleeve shirts on to hide the purple welts. You did not lie in our house, that's for sure. Dad had a really bad attitude towards lying. Excuse me again. Okay, anyway, this is the story that my dad told me on his deathbed. Project Slam Dunk was the name of this. President Johnson in 1968, okay? In Cannon Air Force Base in 1968, he said by the time he got there, that there was already 2 large hangars that were connected. There was hundreds of dump trucks that came in and dumped sand and stone, and cement powder was powdered over the top of all that to make it look like a lunar landscape. They had men that fashioned it into a lunar landscape, he said. Okay, I've never known my dad to lie, so this all took me by surprise. You know, what's that all about? So anyway, he said that in front of the airplane hangars was pole framing with large canvas tents that was concealing the inside of the staging area. Inside the staging area, on flatbed trucks, was created the lunar lander that was reassembled back inside the hangars. All of the walls were painted flat black, and the ceilings as well. He was sworn to secrecy by the NSA, and they would put him in prison for breaking that oath. When Dad saw the moon landing on TV, he cried. He said he knew that what he had witnessed on TV was exactly what they recorded in that hangar. There was no reason for them to go flying around and everything. They had detailed high-definition photos of the landing area. There was no reason for them to go flying around to a different landing area that almost exhausted their fuel, except for drama, because everything had gone so smoothly. Nothing, you know, so it had to be something. Anyway, Dad was one of 3 guards that guarded the inside of the front entrance. There was a list of 15 people who could enter. No one else was allowed by order of President Johnson. And here is that list, and I gave it to Bart Sibrel as well. And he checked out a lot of these names, and he says he can verify a lot of these people and what they do. And I come across a couple myself. Anyway, President Johnson, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, Werner von Braun, Robert Emenegger, Gene Kranz, James Webb, Joe Kerwin, Dr. Thomas Paine, Glenn Looney, Dr. Christopher Kraft, Dr. James Van Allen, General Trudeau, Lieutenant Colonel Donald Simon, and Grant Norrie.
And the list of 15 people, one of which is confirmed to have been there at the time, Robert Emenegger, okay? He spent his whole life saying the moon landings are real and aliens are real. And he's on the list. In his own memoir, he said he was at Cannon Air Force Base in 1968 for a classified reason. I have a new book just posted on the website today called Aliens from Planet X, about where are aliens really from. Stephen Greer has been going around. I'm going to assume he's sincere, but sincerely wrong. You know what his #1 proof is that aliens are real? The Apollo astronauts told him so.
Oh, really?
So Edgar Mitchell and all the Apollo astronauts who've been lying about the moon landings, saying the moon landings are real, they've also been promoting that aliens are real. I say they're just as real as the moon landings.
Really?
So my new book, Aliens from Planet X, just posted online today.
So you're saying, in that book, you're saying there are no extraterrestrials at all?
Well,
Or what are you saying?
the top 2 UFO researchers, okay, these are one Frenchman, one American. They research UFOs for almost their entire lives. After 4 decades each, they came to the same conclusion independently. Number 1, UFOs are real. Number 2, they're not from outer space.
So it's our
from
technology, is what you're saying. It's human tech.
Or fallen angel technology.
Oh, interesting.
And number 3, they are demonic. So it's an interactive book. It has like 28 or 29 video clips, which should be up there sometime today at Sibrel.com.
Okay. One
of which is this brilliant high school student. She went through 500,000 names of presidents and their genealogy. You realize at that point in time when she did the report a few years ago, every single president is blood related to one another, except one. They're protecting a bloodline.
Sure.
There's a scripture in Genesis 3:15. God says to Lucifer, I will put war between your bloodline, seed, future offspring, and the seed, future offspring of Adam. All the world leaders are of one bloodline. They can trace it back to 1300s England, and we don't know where it goes before there. There's something going on here. UFOs are real, but they're not from outer space. They're from Earth, and they're demonic. People are being abducted by UFOs, and they say the name Jesus, and they run away. Why would the name Jesus, Mike, Bart, Buddha, why would that matter if they're extraterrestrials? And then they harvest sperm and eggs from people. Well, get this. The Bible says in Leviticus, I think 19:19, don't do GMOs. It actually says it in the Bible. Don't crossbreed species. And when you do it anyway, when you take a horse and a donkey to get a mule, it's sterile. God built it in. You can't reproduce it. So if you take a fallen angel and a human, and Genesis 6 says they produced Nephilim, giants, men of renown, world leaders, they're sterile. That's why aliens are harvesting sperm and eggs. They have to constantly go back to continue their kind. God's first commandment, be fruitful and multiply. The world leaders want to do the exact opposite. Lower the population, kill the sons of Adam.
That's why
that's what the new book is about.
Depopulation jabs go right into that, and also, the infertility effects, the plasticizer chemicals that cause infertility, and so on. But let me step back here. I mean, our time is going quickly, but to somebody who's hearing this for the first time, and they're very skeptical of what you're saying, how would you answer somebody that says, "Well, Bart, you're just trying to sell books, and you're just saying things that are very provocative to get a lot of attention to sell books"? What's your answer to that kind of, criticism?
Well, I mean, I'm the one who's done 30 years of research on whether the moon landings are real or not. They haven't. It's easy to criticize something. And I risked my life multiple times to gather this information, which I put together in a book. I've got to pay my bills. I want to leave a historical record of what happened. Not only a funny thing happened on the way to the moon, the book also contains my interview with Betty Grissom, the widow of the man who was going to be the first man to walk on the moon, who she told me was murdered by the CIA by being a whistleblower at NASA about Apollo. So
I get that, but
I'm saying
back to my question.
So I wrote a book about my, long, enduring, difficult experiences and decades of research so that people can know it's important. The faking of the moon landing is more profound historically than if they had actually gone. And that's a fact, not a theory. The world needs to know. God provided a millionaire to make the first movie, the ability to write a book, the deathbed confession. If people want to know the truth, it's in the book. You can see all these videos for free at Sibrel.com. It is what it is.
Did you, the passion that you've put into this project for, you said, more than 30 years, that would strike a lot of viewers as very unusual to have this much passion about one big subject, which admittedly, if what you're saying is correct, this alters world history, our understanding of it. But did this come out of the fact that as a child you loved NASA so much, or the rocketry, space so much, and then you felt betrayed when you found out that it wasn't real, and that betrayal has thrust you into so much personal discipline to do all these films and write all these books? Or how do you explain the fact that you've pursued this with such determination?
Well, that's a great question. It's not betrayed. I feel sorry for Neil Armstrong and all those people. The thing that convinces me that Jesus is not from this world is love your enemy. We've got the Muslims bombing the Jews bombing the Muslims, and the so-called Christian United States bombing everybody else.
Yeah.
No one is loving their enemy. And I feel sorry for all the world leaders we talk about in our podcasts. They're going to gain the world and lose their soul. And the reason I do it is because this is spiritually symbolic. I originally turned down the project for fear of my life. Then I realized I'm going to die anyway. This is important. This is mankind's greatest accomplishment. Jesus said, when tempted by Lucifer, Luke chapter 4, that he would give Jesus all the kingdoms of the world if he would bow down and worship him, because the kingdoms of the world belong to Lucifer. And he can give them to anyone he wants. Who do you think he gives them to? Liars and murderers and thieves. People need to see the spiritual symbolism that the world's greatest accomplishment by the Light on a Hill nation is a complete fraud. When I popped in the tape and realized they really did fake the moon landing, I wept, not for the United States, for mankind.
Well, let me ask you this. I believe that the United States of America is headed for a collapse, probably a financial collapse, a geopolitical collapse. Now, assuming that happens, in the aftermath of that, is it possible that a lot of the truth of what you're talking about could also then be confirmed by people who currently are too afraid to speak, but after the collapse of America as we know it, maybe they would not be afraid?
Well, something dawned on me recently. Everyone in our business knows about Eisenhower's farewell address,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What was that, January 19th, 1961, where he warned America evil forces are taking over the United States government. He was president for 8 years. Why didn't he do anything about it then? Because he was afraid they would kill him.
Absolutely.
And he wanted to retire and enjoy his grandchildren. But that was selfish and cowardly. He put 300 million people at risk because of his own petty life. You see, I decided I'm going to die anyway, right? This is worth dying for. What the United States government did is wrong. And according to Betty Grissom, they murdered their astronauts. Our first document of this nation is not the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. And it says, when any nation becomes destructive of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. And they used a third of our income through federal income tax to fake the moon landing, to lie to us when they had no reason to do it. And then they used that money to pay the salaries of the CIA agents who murdered 3 astronauts who wouldn't participate in the moon landing fraud.
Wow.
If these criminals are not caught, they are at large. You don't have a child kidnapper on the loose, and one child, in this county disappears every month for 10 years, 20 years. Oh, well, just one of those things. You better do something about it. These people killed Kennedy. Robert Kennedy Jr., who has more access to the JFK files, says his uncle was killed by the CIA. Robert McNamara says the whole start of the Vietnam War was completely fabricated. So if killing 58,000 of their own people, killing their own president, I don't think they have a problem faking a video image.
Well, yeah,
and these
yeah.
people are at large. They're running the show now. There's
Absolutely.
never been a time in the history of the world where world leaders really had the people's best interest in mind. And it's not different today. We need to wake up to that fact.
Yeah.
The moon landing fraud is the linchpin, the finger out of the dike. One NBC News director saw the footage, saw that it proved we didn't go, and he refused to broadcast it for fear it would cause a civil war. Another one was going to air it nationwide until the federal government threatened them and they backed down. If the truth comes out about the moon landing fraud, it will finally wake people up.
That's true. That's true. Couple last questions here. Recently, we have, like somebody criticizing you would say, well, you don't understand, maybe astronomy or physics or rocketry or whatever. They could say those things. But we recently had Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, who said the moon is made of gases, and that's why it's hard for us to live there. Now, she's in Houston, by the way. And then she said the sun is almost too hot to live on the surface of it, too, by the way. And then the director of NASA, Bill Nelson, I think is his name. Does that sound right? Bill Nelson?
Keep up.
Yeah. He was testifying before Congress just in the last week. And he was asked about why China is exploring building bases on the far side of the moon, which is the side that we don't see because the same side of the moon always faces us. And he said under testimony in Congress that the far side of the moon is always dark and never has sunlight. Now, I'm thinking, wow, the head of NASA doesn't understand how sun and the moon and the earth even work. Even after we just had this total eclipse on April 8th, where, what we were seeing of the moon, the entire far side was lit up by the sun because they're all in alignment. And the director of NASA
He doesn't
know how the moon works.
It shows you that these are political appointments that have nothing to do with qualifications.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just shocking to me that you could have the director of NASA not know basic astronomy.
Then what about the director of the EPA, FDA, who control what we swallow? 90% of Americans demanded GMO labeling, and the president vetoed it. Okay, so if 90% of Americans can't get their way, this is not a democracy. Ask Ron Paul or Bernie Sanders if we have a democracy, where Bernie Sanders got twice as many votes as Clinton, but she got twice as many delegates anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, we know it's
that
not a
should be
democracy.
illegal. That should be illegal.
Well, plus, on top of that, not to make it too political, but virtually the entire U.S. Congress voted more money for Ukraine while waving the Ukrainian flag, and the GOP is entirely controlled by Israel. So,
Well, I don't know. I don't know
there you
other than I don't vote anymore.
Yeah.
And because it's useless. I might as well take an hour-long nap. It'd be a better use of my time.
Right. I tend to agree with you at this point. Took me a while to get there, but at this point, it's like you vote for Democrats, you vote for Republicans, you get the same corrupt results no
doesn't
matter
matter.
what.
It's
It doesn't matter who you
useless.
vote
Pointless.
for. Yeah.
Right? It also says in the Bible, a soldier of the Messiah does not get involved in civilian affairs. Right? They can play their games, and we'll play our games, and we'll see who does well on Judgment Day.
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly. All right, Bart, let me give out your website again, Sibrel.com.
Yeah.
There we have it up there, Sibrel.com. Many of the videos that we played here are also available on your site.
That's right.
Okay, and then you've got links to your books. You've got
If you scroll down, there's the new Alien book. It's only been up a few hours, actually.
Oh, can we scroll down on that
Scroll
page?
down on that. You'll see the new book, Aliens from Planet X. I've been
there it
studying
is. Oh, wow.
Planet X for a really long time. And it's possible that Planet X will come around. No one lives on it. But the people who want alien disclosure, aliens will suddenly appear that have been here all along, and they'll claim they came from Planet X.
The great
Deception.
cosmic false flag.
Von Braun, who faked the moon landing, said before he died, the government is planning on an alien deception.
Wow.
He said so himself.
Wow, I'm sure they'll use that to take away our Second Amendment rights. You
who
can't have
knows?
guns, there's aliens.
I just want to keep my Third Amendment rights, which is cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
You can't house British soldiers with cheeseburgers in American.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Third Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Bart, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
I don't know. Maybe people should pray.
There you go.
Seriously. Think about what will happen if the moon landing came out. Think about this. Imagine right now people are running in and saying, stop what you're doing. Turn on. It's Buzz Aldrin tearfully confessing it's fake. The world would become dead silent. It would be.
I don't think people would be surprised anymore.
I don't know, but it would be shocking. It would be glorious. It would be like a cold glass of water in Americans' face. They wake up, they find out they're sleepwalking, they look down, and they're 1 foot away from a cliff. Maybe we should pray for divine intervention that the truth comes out about the moon landing fraud, to humble the criminals in America, and to give God glory. Remember, there are two enemies. Everyone says the enemy is the boogeyman in another country. But when people in the government take an oath, it's against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The greatest enemies of this country are in power in Washington, D.C. right now. Traitors faking moon landings, traitors killing Kennedy, traitors doing the Gulf of Tonkin, traitors doing 9/11, and who knows what else.
Oh, yeah. Building 7 And again, fake currency, fake elections, fake narratives, fake science, fake pandemics, all of it.
So the news director said if the truth comes out about the moon landing fraud, that will enrage people more than anything, that they were duped about that, and that will help the truth come out.
Interesting. Well, I hope you're right, and I want the truth to come out, even if it's uncomfortable for people. And I got to say, I got to just congratulate you. Your work is very compelling. It's rather convincing because it's really, I mean, frankly, it's undeniable once you are aware of what you're talking about.
It's not convincing because of me. It's convincing because they really did fake the moon landing. And if a gaga fanboy of NASA and the moon landing can say that, then it's true. I'd bet my life on it.
Yeah, you have bet your life on it. Well, thank you for joining us today here in the studio, Bart. It's a pleasure to meet you face to face. And by the way, we did not coordinate our wardrobe today.
No.
It's just coincidence.
Yes.
That it's almost identical.
Yes.
They're
Maybe we're identical cousins.
Yeah, could be.
Yes.
Could be. Do you want to take Commander Rhodey with you?
I'm tempted.
He might help you next time the CIA tries to
no kidding.
kidnap you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an anti-kidnapping companion.
Amen.
Look, he knows.
Aww,
There he is.
He's coming up to say hello.
Hey, Rhodey, come on up. You want to say hi? Did you enjoy
He
the
growls
interview?
when he's happy.
He does. He talks.
Oh.
That's his way of talking.
I think my dog does that too. We were kind of wondering at first.
Yeah, it's not a mean growl.
No.
Is it?
It's a playful one.
Boy. Yes. That's right. Good boy. See? He's not going to bite me. He's happy. Aren't you? Good boy, Rudy. Good boy. Okay.
Did you hear what he said? He said the truth will set you free.
Yeah, he said he wants another astronaut for lunch.
No, only one per day.
There's a one
diet.
astronaut limit per lunch period, Rudy. Commander Rudy. Okay, all right. Maybe he could teach a NASA director about how the moon works because he's eaten the far side of the moon a couple of times right here.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for your tolerance of all our weird humor and dog. Well, speaking of that,
He likes showing off. He knows it's the end.
He's like this.
He wants to show off at the end. He wants to show his end at the end.
Yeah, balls to NASA. Yeah, right there.
Why don't you moon them?
Yeah, my dog is mooning NASA.
There you
All
go.
right.
Close up, please.
My moon-eating dog is mooning NASA. Okay. Wonderful interview. Rhodey, give me a chance to wrap this up. Hold on. The website is sibrel.com, and check out all the videos there. Check out the books. And thank you for joining us today here at Brighteon.com studios. Okay, Rhodey, bark. Yeah. Okay.